Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Trades Talk. Excited to have a conversation with Jeff Soch today of NIAID Irrigation. His background is incredible, starting very young in the industry and working his way up from an irrigation tech all the way to general manager of NIAID. It's an incredible business with a lot to learn, especially on the software side. So excited to dive in and talk to Jeff about his entire story. So Jeff, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Justin. Super excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you here. So I was reading your bio and I was just fascinated with how you got started so young in doing some of the demolition and some of the other work you did with family friends at a young age. So why don't you talk and start there? Like, how did you get involved with the trades industry?
Bit of an interesting story. Very much shouldn't have been working at those ages. When I was about 12, my mom actually was working for a disaster restoration company, and I kind of snuck in there. Started out just kind of hanging around the shop, cleaning equipment, trying to get some kind of experience under my belt. And as I kind of worked my way through, junior high into high school, eventually I started moving out into the job sites. And I went from, maintaining equipment to actually getting into more of the fun side of things, which was mostly demolition, which was a great experience for a teenager at the time. Okay. So I primarily did a lot of floods, some fires, sewer backups. And one thing that I really enjoyed doing as part of that work is when you're going into those situations, you have, somebody who's potentially lost, maybe their entire house, maybe their entire basement, and being able to see, those folks and seeing the human side of it and being able to take a not so great situation and turn it into a bit of a positive, or at least make it easier on them. I really fell in love with just that aspect of making customers happy. Obviously, it was a bit of an extreme scenario, but the other side of that was also just with that type of work, it was very long hours, on-call shifts. I learned a lot very quickly, and I really love that. I fell in love with working with my hands and helping people and long, hard hours. So that was kind of the start.
Wow. So, and I started working for my dad's landscape company at a similar age. And it's an interesting thing when you start to go through a full project restoration or a cleanup or what have you, and you get to the end result at such a young age. It's really rewarding, right? To see a whole project go through start to finish.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no better feeling, really.
No, and then the hard work aspect of it too teaches us so much of what a hard day's work actually means.
Absolutely.
So you did that, and you ended up falling in or getting involved with irrigation. How did that come about?
Oh, you mean you don't grow up going, I'm going to be an irrigation professional one day?
Maybe you did.
No, I definitely didn't. I never saw myself getting into irrigation, but what wound up happening was the company I work for, they wound up selling, and when that happened, bunch of changes, and just decided it was time to maybe find something else. So I was looking around. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was just getting out of high school at that point. I knew I liked working with my hands. I liked working long hours, and along came a job ad for NIAID, which was for an irrigation service technician position. And right on the ad, it said, we like to work long, hard hours. We like to have some fun, but at the end of the day, we have a very short time to get things done and want to make sure we get it done. And I was just sold right from just that job ad.
Yeah, just like that idea of getting in and just getting a lot of work done in a short period. What does a season look like for where you guys are out? And you're out of Calgary, did you say, or where are you out of?
Yeah, so we're based out of Calgary, Alberta, which is up in Canada. So we do have a fairly short season here. Generally, we're turning on irrigation right around beginning of May, and we're usually shutting down irrigation, and we're usually done around mid-October.
Yeah, that's quick. So you got to get everything done in that window.
Absolutely, and it's very cutthroat. It's very if you miss that window on shutdowns, you're in a bad spot.
Right. Walk me through, what does a shutdown look like for you guys up there?
Honestly, it's pretty straightforward. We don't need anybody at the property at the time. Most of the shutoffs are inside the property here, so we have the homeowner have their water off when we show up. We hook up outside. Roughly, usually it takes us anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes maximum for typical residential system, and we're usually doing about 4,500-ish per season these days, so pretty quick, pretty short season.
Yeah. So, okay, we got to come back to the story, and we'll pick it up when you joined as a tech, but I have to ask, 4,500 properties, homeowners, how do you keep track of all those and make sure that everybody is going to the right one at the right time? Like that seems like a total headache.
That's where the software comes in. So we utilize a software called ServiceTitan, originally designed for kind of plumbing, HVAC, electrical. Since then, they've kind of branched out to more of the green industry and some other industries as well. And that's been basically the driving force behind all of our growth, all of our expansion. It's been a huge impact on the company.
How many techs did you guys have when you brought on ServiceTitan?
So we onboarded with ServiceTitan in the winter of 2019. We were running roughly 10 service vans, 2 install crews, and 1 lawn maintenance crew. As of this year, we'll be running 20 service technicians. We're running 3 full-time commercial technicians, 3 install crews, and the lawn maintenance crew.
Nice. Wow. Great growth. Congrats on
Absolutely.
that. That's huge. And so when you guys brought on the software, ServiceTitan, was it something that you really brought to the table and had to convince people of, or what was the process like of onboarding? Because I know that can be, in my experience, that's been tough.
Absolutely. This wasn't our first kick at the can. When I first started, we were using another HVAC software, and we had switched rather recently. Once I started taking more of a manager role, we had switched to more of a green industry product. But it was getting time. It was starting to get outdated. It wasn't cloud-based. There was a couple really big pain points that it was causing us. So what's interesting about making the switch is not only was it obviously difficult anytime you switch a database, it's an involved process, but at that time ServiceTitan wasn't really looking at green industry. I actually had to beg them to let us onto the software because I saw the potential. I knew it could work, and I was willing to accept that. I know it's not perfect, it's not for the industry, but let me in and just let me try it, because what I see is just going to change our business.
Wow. And it sounds like it did. It was a core of your guys' ability to grow.
Absolutely.
Wow. So it's interesting when you think about it, because irrigation services is such a unique niche of a service, and there's so few companies in comparison to HVAC and plumbing and roofing and some of these other trades, and really lawn maintenance too, right? There's tons of lawn management and lawn maintenance companies out there. Was there a decision made within your team that you guys wanted to scale specifically irrigation and not focus as much energy on the lawn maintenance side?
We've actually always primarily been focused on irrigation. Our founder, Miles, he was doing irrigation on the side before he started NIAID formally. Yeah. And he had a lot of contacts in kind of development, the development side of things. So when he stepped out, realistically, the origins of NIAID were to kind of help that development side. So we would help install systems for show homes. But realistically, like irrigation has always kind of been the main focus. Lawn maintenance was actually more of a byproduct of the irrigation as we were installing these systems on these show homes. A lot of the developers went, well, now we know everything's going to get watered, but we want to make sure it actually looks nice at the end of the day. So that's kind of where the lawn maintenance came in. So it's always been very much irrigation focused.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's a great sector, and I think it's one that's often ignored by landscapers. It's just this thing you have to do just to get the lawn maintenance. Do you guys ever have that situation where you have someone else doing the landscaping and lawn maintenance, and then you guys doing the irrigation, and maybe the lawn isn't as green as the client wants it to be, and so you've got two vendors kind of managing the same property with a bit of an issue in the middle? Do you guys run into that issue much?
Not particularly, no. We work with quite a few landscapers. I mean, we're really good at what we do, and we know there's a lot of people that are a lot better at the lawn maintenance side than we are. So realistically, like I can't really speak to having too many issues as a result of either party. I mean, we work together. We're all on the same project, so we just kind of work together and make it happen.
That's awesome. That's great to hear, because I hear that as a common reason why people don't want to just do one thing, because they're afraid that, well, then I'm not going to be able to manage the landscape company, so I can't just do irrigation. But it's a good thing to hear. So, hey, I want to come back. You joined NIAID as an irrigation technician. You're working there as a technician, and then you moved up. And that move up to service manager, or whatever that position is a move that most technicians will never make, because they have a hard time going from doing the work to then managing people doing the work. What was that transition like for you? And what was how did you become successful at
it? I wouldn't say successful. I mean, I tried my best. Some things happened. It's going well so far. It was definitely a change. I was very new to the industry to begin with. But I really, really, again, just kind of focused on the customer service aspect of things. Learning the irrigation was definitely, it is a bit of a learning experience, but when it came to kind of taking on to that management role, it was just kind of keeping to the core values, teaching the next generation that, customer is number one. We're going to make sure that they're happy at the end of the day. We're going to take the time. We're going to spend the resources, make sure that's great. And everything else will just kind of fall into place. That's kind of been the core value of NIAID since we started.
Awesome. So just your experience in the field, servicing customers, making them happy, you just basically continue to make sure your team did that every day. And I got to imagine you had some pretty good people working for you, and still do.
Absolutely. We've been really, really lucky. We have such a strong team that we've built up over the years, and it just keeps getting better and better. And that's always the focus, is everybody in this company, we all start at ground level. And that's the best feeling, is seeing everybody move up, get into new positions, and just make them their own. I can tell you right now, our service manager is 10 times the service manager I ever was. I'd like to take a little bit of credit for maybe getting them into that position, but every time they just take it and they run with it, and it's just been so much better since they take over.
Nice. So what it looked like going from service manager to, you went to general manager in 2016. What was that conversation like with the founder and owner of the business? Those people...
If you ever speak to Miles, he'll tell you that I've always been the boss. We have a very interesting relationship, Miles and I. Miles is very much a visionary. He has the ideas. He's the dreamer. He's setting the goals, and I'm very much an implementer. So he says, "Can we do this? I want to do this," and I say yes or no, and here's how we're going to get there. So really, since early on, that's kind of been the dynamic. So really the switch from service manager to general manager, at that point, I kind of had my hands in all the cookie jars at that point anyways, just trying to, develop those various aspects of the business. So it really wasn't a huge transition. It was more just here's the formal title on it, but let's keep going business as usual.
Yeah. So you made it official, but it was always kind of the relationship, the visionary implementer relationship. Do you guys run on any type of it sounds like EOS of some degree. Do you guys run on any type of strategy like that where you guys have a strategy?
Not currently, no. It's definitely something we need to start on.
Yeah, it's definitely something that helps, but at the end of the day, if you don't have great people, then none of that matters. And it sounds like you guys have great people.
Mm-hmm.
So when you became the GM and started implementing things and putting in ServiceTitan and starting to grow, what were some of the biggest challenges for you guys when you're going from that 1.5, 2 million up to now 5 million and beyond? What were some of the biggest challenges to that growth?
One of the biggest issues that we were having, and one of the big driving factors why I really wanted to get on a platform like ServiceTitan, is what we were finding is a lot of the software out there was kind of handicapping the field technicians. You have these great professionals, you trust them to be at your client's house doing the work they do, they're great, but you couldn't trust them to update a field note, for example. The software we were using, it had so many guardrails and so many hoops that you had to jump through that anybody in the field, they didn't want to use it because it was making their lives harder, and it should be the exact opposite. So that was definitely a big pain point, is finding a software that actually let the technicians not just be technicians, but become better technicians. Coming up with a way to ensure that, if this is the way that I'm going to do it, this is the way that I want everybody to do it. So how can we implement these SOPs, these practices, these procedures? How can we have that available to them on a daily basis? So that way it's not just, if tech A or tech B shows up, you're going to get two different experiences. We want to have a unified experience across the entire company. Making sure that it's actually improving with the business. So that's a lot of issues that we have with software these days. Is something comes out, it's excellent, it's great, but what's it going to be looking like in 5 years? Is it going to grow with you, or is it going to be the exact same? And we'd seen a lot of stagnation with a lot of the products in the industry at the time, where they'd been around for 5-10 years and they had no interest of actually expanding the product anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of like they set it and forget it situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we were with a product and software before we switched to Aspire, which is in the ServiceTitan family.
Yep.
And it was one of those decisions that definitely changed the way we operated and helped us grow quite a bit. When you were making that decision around ServiceTitan, in some of the prep work we were talking about here before the show, you mentioned like pinnacle decisions, these decisions that really can change the trajectory of a company, whether it's hiring someone new or bringing on a new software or entering a new market. How did you know that and you kind of answered this earlier about like you knew ServiceTitan was the right fit, but now that you've actually been in the software, what are some of the characteristics or thing about ServiceTitan that you truly believe are the things that make you guys successful because of how ServiceTitan operates? Great
question. Yeah, I can honestly tell you, like the day I signed the contract for ServiceTitan, I'll never forget that day. It was very much one of those pinnacle experiences where at the end of the day, I was making a huge decision, and it could either go really well or really poorly. Obviously, it went quite well for us. I think realistically, like some of the big things that ServiceTitan has allowed us to do, very basic things that every company should have, things like KPIs. Are you getting relevant KPIs on your technicians? And are they actionable KPIs? Can you tell me what your billable man hours should be if you have an apprentice level technician, if you have a commercial technician, can you give them forms to make sure that they are able to repeat the exact same process over and over? Are they able to use those forms to prepare estimates to make sure they're presenting the exact same options, the same opportunities? Being able to, very basic routing, knowing exactly where your locations are. Speaking of, 4,500 winterizations, if we're running anywhere from 300 to 400 jobs a day, we need to be able to actually know where those jobs are, know all the information, have all the information at hand. And these are all things that ServiceTitan have enabled us to do and have also been improving on throughout the years. So when we first signed on, the product, how it looked then and how it looks now is completely different. They've continued to develop the product, and they're continuing to push that envelope. So it definitely is a game of keeping up with them as well, which has been great for us.
Right. Yeah. Like new features or new UIs come out and you're like, okay, we have to step up maybe our operation to then align with the new way the software is operating, which helps keep you innovative. That's awesome. How much of have you gone to any of the Pantheon events that ServiceTitan does?
I've gone to 3 so far. Yeah.
Okay. What is that like going to one of those events? I've been to one and it was awesome.
It's definitely an experience I would highly recommend. It's just going to Pantheon, you're in a room with some actual titans of industry. You have HVAC plumbing companies, making $250,000 plus, 30 plus locations, just absolute monsters. And everybody's there with the mindset of making their business better. So the networking opportunities you get to talk to some of these absolute titans, being able to see on the other side of it what ServiceTitan is actually cooking, to see what's coming down the pipeline so you can prepare your business for that. It's just all around an amazing experience.
Yeah, that's actually, I love that part when they go up and tell you what's coming down the pipe or what they just released today, and it's an exciting, also the community, like you say, of everyone else in the room, whether you're doing HVAC or any industry, there's so many similarities in the trades, and you get to talk to people who have built really big companies and have really great perspectives over where the industry is going. I think that's been one of my big takeaways.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, when you come back from a Pantheon event like that, are there things that you're changing within the business and that you learned about and you're like, all right, we're going to update this process or update this system? Are there actions that you bring back and put in place?
Absolutely. I come back with a notebook absolutely chock full of what's coming down. Essentially, the week after Pantheon, I'll have a team meeting with all of our leads and say, this is what's coming down the pipeline. Here's how we're doing it now. Here's how we can modify it. Here's where this section of the product is going. So how can we adjust so that it's going to be an easy transition? There's a lot of planning that goes into kind of the post Pantheon meetings. So yes, absolutely. It's a great place. Even you learn about something that maybe you're not using at all in the software, or you thought you were using it and you're not using it to its full potential. Yeah, tons of ideas. It's a great idea generation tool.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And it's almost like my team knows when I'm coming back from an event like that. They're like, uh-oh, like brace yourself because this next week's going to be kind of crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I want to talk a little bit about just like customer service and with 4,500 plus people and homeowners and properties you guys service, having a high level of customer service is clearly a part of your growth. Otherwise, there'd be no way you guys would be as successful. What are some of the things that you do as general manager or your team does that delivers that high level customer experience?
Great question. It's honestly the little things. The smallest things can make the biggest impact sometimes. A lot of this is very standard base level things like, I mean, obviously communication is number one. The most frustrating thing for anybody, whether it's part of your team or your customer, is what's the communication like? So doing things like making sure that when we book an appointment, there's a booking confirmation, not just an email that gets into a junk folder at some point, but an email, a text message. Is there a reminder on there? We have clients booking right now for a winterization service that isn't going to happen until October. But every step of the way, we make sure that they know exactly what's going on, what to expect. We'll remind them 2 weeks before. We'll remind them a week before. We'll tell them exactly what needs to happen. Being able to send out messages that aren't just, hey, can I have your money, please, but actual relevant information. ServiceTitan allows you to really quickly pull an audience. We've had a lot of interesting things in our area in regards to, a water main break, water main repairs. There's been water restrictions. So being able to provide that value to our customers rather than just marketing to them, having the tools to be able to do that has been absolutely huge for us.
Do you guys use Marketing Pro for that?
We do. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Nice. And how does that, could you explain like super high level for people who haven't used Marketing Pro, how that works? Is it just kind of an automated email, or you set certain rules up? How does that work?
Yeah, so you have flexibility to do pretty much whatever your heart desires with Marketing Pro. At a high level, you can have automated campaigns, drip campaigns. You can have something that, I want to set up a chain of 4 emails. Here's how I want the chain to start. Here's my next 3 messages. You can tell it what you want to happen in between those messages. If, you get the desired result, they give you a call, you can have it stop that chain. You can send off one-off newsletters. So that's a lot of what we've been doing lately is, keeping posted in regards to water restrictions, what the plans are for that side of things. So really it's allowed us, like, we can essentially come up with all of our main marketing and strategy posts over the winter when we're not really doing a whole lot, and they just run themselves throughout the season. So really we don't even have to do anything. They just kind of run in the background, and it's just sprinkling in any kind of on-demand pieces that we need.
So you guys are kind of building out your marketing for the year and your newsletters and what the emails are going to look like during the winter season when you guys are not that busy.
Exactly.
That's smart. How do you keep your techs busy or like employed during the winter? I know that can be hard for companies like irrigation companies.
Absolutely. It's a big struggle. Winter's a nightmare. Nobody wants to do snow removal, but that's what we do.
Yeah.
We definitely use the winter. Obviously, snow removal is kind of the big revenue generator. I wouldn't say a big revenue generator, but it keeps the lights on. But realistically, we try and keep everybody and focus on making the team better. So there's a huge emphasis on training. We love to get certifications. We like to think we're one of the most certified companies in Canada at this point with the Irrigation Association. So that's kind of the big focus is like, if we're not doing a whole lot, what can we do so that when the next season comes, we're not hitting it running, we're sprinting.
That's huge. Yeah. Well, you mentioned most or all of your team has come in at the ground floor at that probably apprentice level of some sort and then work through that training program. How have you built out that training program to get people through from very little or no experience to the point where they're a full, unsupervised technician?
Yeah, so it's definitely evolved through the years. Current iteration of the program, we have roughly about 3 weeks of training prior to the season starting. We do a mixture of online video training and also hands-on in the classroom, kind of getting your hands on the parts. We definitely found that people learn both ways. So some people really take to the videos. Other people, you got to be holding it in your hand for it to make sense. So we try and cater to both. So we do that for about 2 to 3 weeks. And then we do about a week of full-on job shadowing. So you're with a senior technician. We book, 75% of your typical appointment list. That gives us enough time to kind of really break things down and show you exactly what's going on site. And usually after that week, we're actually able to get technicians in their own van.
Dang, that's awesome. That's super fast. So
we try our best.
Yeah. And I'm sure, there's challenges along the way in those first 90 days. But...
Yes, absolutely. It's not just here's your van, have fun. There's definitely continued. We do team huddles every morning. We make sure that there's ongoing support. Like I said, our service manager, he does an excellent job of being available for everybody. And yeah, there's definitely some hitches for the next little bit, but relatively quickly, people are very independent.
Tell me a little bit about those daily huddles. What does that look like?
So, we're changing it up this year. In the past, we would typically pick a topic, kind of talk about it, any relevant things that had happened. This year, what we're going to focus more on is getting more of the technicians involved. So having specific technicians talk about a specific thing that happened to them the previous day, how they dealt with it. We're looking more into the metric side of things. So we're looking at sales. We're looking at, this technician sold 8 HydroWise controllers yesterday. How did you manage to do that? What was your selling point? What made people pull the trigger on that decision? So we're trying to keep them as short as possible. In the past, we were running about 30 minutes. This time, we're looking at about a 15-minute every morning, and then also having the field supervisors involved with kind of follow-up throughout the day.
Nice. So it's a chance for everyone to get on the same page and a chance for you guys to do a little bit of training, almost, of like reminding, probably more than anything. Like, don't forget to do this stuff.
Exactly.
So when it comes to that like day-to-day process, how do you make sure that your technicians are completing everything within the ServiceTitan realm or the CRM or what have you on a daily basis so they don't fall behind? How much of that has to be trained and just managed day in and day out?
It's relatively easy. There's a little bit of training involved, but ServiceTitan is very transparent. It's got a lot of utility in regards to communication between the field and the team. So one of the great factors to our growth has been that we've been able to grow without really needing to scale up the back end. So we've been running 2 office admins essentially. So they take care of dispatching, they take care of watching the board, moving appointments around. But realistically, ServiceTitan has a capability with products like Dispatch Pro that essentially will move your dispatch board around for you. So it actually watches the board, and every few minutes it runs a bunch of back-end calculations. It can kind of pick up on if a technician's running behind, if a technician is, ahead of schedule, and it can actually move jobs around for you to make sure that A, your technicians are staying efficient, but B, you're actually getting the right technician on the right job. So it also looks at that previous history and will actually say, okay, well, based on this technician's past experiences, they're going to have a really great opportunity with this particular type of job.
Is that like, how much of that are you pre-programming into the system yourself of training the ServiceTitan system to make those decisions? Like how much input do you have on that versus ServiceTitan kind of working in the background to understand and analyze the data and then make recommendations?
So the data analysis happens in the background automatically. It's always kind of looking at that. As far as your input, you have essentially full control to kind of give it the base spine, the kind of structure that you're looking at. So you can program parameters as, how much drive time is acceptable for you. Do you want to prioritize drive time versus, say, total ticket revenue? Do you want to keep technicians in certain areas? Is it important to you that your technician gets home at the end of the day or is close to home at the end of the day, or is that irrelevant to you? There's a multitude of options. You can basically tailor it to what your best fit is, and it will play within those guidelines.
Nice. That makes a ton of sense, especially for a business where you're servicing so many customers in a day. What's your average, just curious, what's your average technician visit? How many clients would they visit in a normal day on average?
This is a bit of an interesting one because people always think it's a huge number. It's actually 4. The number is 4.
4. And what are they doing when they go there on like a standard, when we talk about irrigation service, what are they doing?
So typical irrigation service, we're turning the system on, dealing with any backflow devices that might be there. But we do a very comprehensive system check. I haven't counted the exact points for this iteration of it, but it's very in-depth. It's our way of making sure that we are looking at literally every single aspect of your system and making recommendations or just giving a general health checkup. So what's really nice about this is as the technicians are filling it out, they can give recommendations on, this is functional, but it could be better. This is not functional. We need to get it running. And basically by working through this checklist, not only does it give the client a really digestible piece of material that they can kind of go through and see, based on this visit, here's where your system's at, here's what we recommend. But it also gives our technicians the capability to provide, estimates for, this is the work that we need to get done. This is the estimate that would be nice to get done because we can make your system better. And this is if you want your system to be as efficient as it possibly can be, here's what we can do. So it just keeps everything in a nice, smooth process.
Nice. And do you guys, I assume, charge for that service? The inspection and service check?
So it's all included in the activation cost. So it's all one cost, but we do that for every single person that we turn on. Every single activation we do, they're getting that inspection.
Well, it makes sense, right? Because you don't want to go turn on a bunch of systems and not check to make sure there's not a blowout, and then you're getting called back and they're upset that you broke something. So
exactly.
I think that's a good principle to have, is don't turn something on without assessing it.
Mm-hmm.
And with the IA, we also work with the IA a lot with our irrigation department. It's a great organization. And I think for anyone listening who is in the industry and has anything to do with irrigation, it's really, I think, key to get your technicians trained as certified irrigation technicians. It just, if anything, it boosts their morale and they kind of wear that with pride. When did you guys start working with the IA and building that into your process of getting people certified?
It's been pretty much since the beginning.
Nice.
We've definitely focused a lot harder over the last, say, 5-6 years in coming up with an actual solid game plan. And as you mentioned, in our industry, it's not like you can go get your red seal or anything like that.
Right.
So the IA gives us those tools to actually say, okay, if you can get this certification, kind of where you're at in regards to everybody else. So for us, we've been focusing on, by the end of your first year, you should be a certified irrigation technician at minimum. It gives them something to work towards for their second year. For our service techs, we like to have them become certified landscape irrigation auditors. It just kind of takes the theory of irrigation to the next level. And by their third year, we're aiming to have everybody to be a certified irrigation contractor. So those are kind of the first 3 years of schooling with us that we kind of like to focus and aim towards, so that we can have as many certified technicians as possible and make sure that they're actually staying current.
Right. Yeah, because you can forget a lot of stuff in a year if you just get that cert and stop learning.
Yeah, those first 2 weeks after the winter are definitely an adjustment period.
Yeah, I bet. It's like coming in cold from snow plowing and stuff, and now it's getting hot and you're turning systems on.
Yep.
How do you guys, a question on that, I'm just super curious about the business model. I love this whole model you put together and what you guys have built. How do you prioritize system startups in a time where I've got to imagine everybody, when it gets warm, wants their system running, and you can't be everywhere at the same day? How do you guys manage that process and that volume demand?
Absolutely. So we use a lot of tools at our disposal. The first thing has been pre-booking. So we launched our membership programs, which is essentially a way for customers to prepay for their service. They get a discount on their service in addition to some other perks. But what that also lets them do is we build our schedule, our online scheduler, and it's usually ready January. So in January, all of our members are able to essentially book all of their appointments throughout the season. And when we do that, we actually set it at about an 80% capacity threshold. So we'll book up to about 80% of our maximum capacity before they even start the season. And then from there, we'll keep 2 to 3 technicians available as kind of a buffer tech. So that way, if we run into any issues, we can move appointments around. But if we do have those demand calls, they're able to step in and take them. So gives us a nice balance of guaranteed work on the books, and then anything that comes in, we have technicians available.
Right on. That's awesome. I've noticed a lot more service businesses are going to that subscription model, and I think it makes a ton of sense, because then you kind of know what's coming up and the customer knows what they're going to pay, and everybody can just plan for it. It just makes it so much easier.
Exactly. It's convenient for everybody. It's convenient for the homeowner. It's convenient for you. It's a win-win for everybody.
Any advice on that? If someone's listening to this and they're thinking, man, I'd really like to offer a subscription model, I just don't know where to start. Any advice for them on how to start that process or that conversation?
Keep it as simple as possible. I like to think of it similar to like a pay structure for your technician. If you've ever dabbled in performance pay or anything like that, the more confusing you make it, the less desirable it's going to be. So if you keep it very basic, very clearly state, what are the benefits of becoming a member or signing up for this subscription, and understand that your value is going to come from efficiency. So you need to make it so that it's as efficient as possible for you and pass those savings on to the client.
That's a good way to explain to the client because they're like, well, why would I do this? And you're like, well, if we're more efficient and I can charge you less money and you save money. And that's ultimately probably what drives most of the decisions from the clients is the cost. Any talk or experience or advice on the performance pay for performance on the technician side? I think it's something that a lot of people try to get into, and I think they overcomplicate it, like you said.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. This is one of the things that I really liked about ServiceTitan, with it being in, more traditional trades. That's a lot more common in those trades. And coming from disaster restoration, we were on performance pay there as well. And one of the things I really liked about it was the simple fact that if you're doing well, the business is doing well, your people should be doing well at the same time. It definitely can get overcomplicated very quickly. So we're taking baby steps in launching performance pay. It's been really great. Realistically, right now, what we're doing is we're focusing on any work above and beyond the base work. So if we're there to turn on an irrigation system, that's not incentivized at all. But if they do any repairs, any kind of maintenance, any kind of upgrades, that's all calculated into the performance pay model. It's a straight percentage. There's no, it changes based on if you are in a dollar range or anything like that. You're getting a percentage of what you sell, bottom line.
Simple. Yeah. It's like, and you can in ServiceTitan, you can basically specify where the revenue is coming from and then allocate some level of commission or performance pay to the upsells versus the base fee.
Exactly. And you can dive extremely deep into this. You can have different percentages based on different materials, different line items. Do you want to deduct the cost of materials? Do you want to have it so that different technicians have different pay scales? It's all fully customizable to whatever you want. You can make it as complicated as you want. I don't recommend it, but the tools are there for you.
Yeah. Yeah. But ultimately your experience is like simple. So the techs understand how they earn more money.
I think, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've heard horror stories of, HVAC companies with technicians where, their performance pay model, if you can actually understand it, you'd be making so much money, but they can't find technicians because they're going to go to the one that's super easy to understand, and they know that they're going to be able to pay their bills. Like, that's just bottom line. If it's too complicated, people aren't going to like it.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb. If you can't have your technician explain it back to you and they don't understand it word for word, then they're not going to be able to optimize the outcome that you're looking to optimize. I think it's well said.
Absolutely.
So as we start to kind of wrap the episode up, a couple things I wanted to ask, is there anything we didn't cover that you feel is something that you want to share, or something that NIAID does that's unique to the industry?
I wouldn't say there's too much unique that we do. I mean, we show up when we say we're going to. We get the job done right. I mean, that's kind of what everybody wants to do. I would say if I was to offer like a piece of advice or something along those lines, is to look to other trades for inspiration. The membership program, that was all based off of HVAC and electrical. That was something that we never did. And rather than going, well, just because HVAC does it, we shouldn't, we went, well, if HVAC can do it, how can we? So don't be afraid to look to those other trades to see what they do really, really well, and see if you can implement them into your business. Because you look back, 5-10 years, and I was able to book online with my dentist, but I wasn't able to book online with my internet provider. So like all these things, there's so many industries that have been doing certain things so well. Being able to incorporate that into your business is a huge value add.
Oh, I completely agree. Yeah, it's a great trade secret right there. Is like look to other trades for inspiration.
Yep.
Well said. So, Jeff, do you go to any other conferences like the IA conference or anything else, or are you going to be at Pantheon this year?
More than likely, we'll be at Pantheon this year. The irrigation side of things, we generally will have somebody there. Generally not me. I'm not much of an irrigation guy these days. We like to send more of the other team. They get to be more hands-on. They want to see what's latest and greatest in the actual irrigation field. But yeah, I'll definitely more than likely be at Pantheon this year. And there's the odd, ServiceTitan does things like Toolbox Live events where it's a lot more intimate, a lot more close-knit, and we like going to those as well. So
nice. All right. Well, I'll have to try to hunt you down and get to say hi in person. But thanks for being on the show today and sharing all of what you shared. It's just, you guys got a great business running, and I wish you guys the best.
Oh, thank you, Justin. That means a lot.
Thanks for tuning in to Trades Talk, where the next generation of disruptors comes to raise the bar. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone in the trades who's ready to level up. For more tools, insights, and community, follow host Justin White and join the movement at jwhitegroup.com.